So I've seen many videos like this one that I'm going to show you raising controversy around the increase of autism and ADHD diagnosis.
Robbie Williams, Bella Ramsey, all very successful and all autistic. So is James Fitzpatrick, but he doesn't talk, has a learning disability and needs constant care. Autism experts are having a fierce row about how such different people can have the same diagnosis.
As well as this, not to mention the bias latest documentary on the Great ADHD Myth on Channel 4. But I wanted to remind people of something. So, yes, there is a version of autism and ADHD that is much more obvious to the eye. These are usually autistic and ADHD people with significant additional needs, additional disabilities, co-occurring conditions, those who will need lifelong support, and that is highly valid. But that is not the only version of autism and ADHD that exists. Uta Thrift suggests that many are being misdiagnosed when actually they just have depression or trauma. And I can't stress enough, right? So I sit on the other side of this. I am a private psychotherapist. And yes, guess what? They usually do as well. But the question that you're not asking, which surprises me as a researcher, is why is that? And I think we need to be really careful about what happens when somebody has met the criteria their entire life, because that is the differentiation, but they don't look like the version of autism or ADHD that you have in your head. So therefore, end up with zero support, and you can't comprehend that those things are disabilities. Because guess what? We have evidence of what actually happens to those people who do not get a diagnosis. So for autistic people, we see significantly higher rates of mental health difficulties, self-harm, and suicidality. One of the highest groups of people to die by suicide. Eating disorders, victimization, abuse, vulnerability to abusive relationships, difficulties with employment. All of these are not small things. And with ADHD, we see higher rates of substance misuse and addiction, accidental injuries, mental health difficulties, and ADHD is massively overrepresented in prison populations. Again, none of these things are small, and they end up being things that we end up having to manage anyway, and they're really significant to the quality of the life that they get to live. So when somebody gets to 30, 40, 50, right, and they finally discover that their brain has been different this entire time and has led to outcomes that may have been preventable with the right knowledge and the right support, and people think, oh, you've been fine. Their struggles aren't as obvious to us as maybe somebody who is nonverbal. But they have been obvious to us, just in very, very different ways, and usually ways in which you probably judge them heavily for. So maybe what we should be asking is what happens to these people before diagnosis that could have been different with a diagnosis? Because not recognising somebody's disability doesn't make the disability disappear. And somebody managing to survive without knowing why their life has been so much harder isn't evidence that they never needed a diagnosis. Sometimes, in fact, it's evidence of just how much it costs them not to have one.